Edward G. Robinson, you'll be pleased to hear.
Abbado is conducting the London Symphony Orchestra in music by Debussy and Bartók. The concert will end with the suite from the ballet The Miraculous Mandarin by Bartók. But we'll hear first Debussy's Nocturnes. Now, some of this music may have been written around the time that Debussy began the Prélude à l'après-midi d'un faune. But the pieces weren't completed until 5 years later, in 1899. There seem to be three ways of interpreting the meaning of Nocturnes. Firstly, the title is said to have been suggested either by the poem Nocturne by Swinburne or by the Nocturnes of the painter Whistler. And indeed, Debussy referred at one point to studies in grey. However, the music is not particularly nocturnal in feel, and Debussy himself later described the inspiration for two of the pieces in terms of daylight rather than night. When he was crossing the Pont de la Concorde with a friend one stormy day, Debussy told him that the idea of nuage had come to him on just such a day of thunderclouds swept along by a stormy wind, while a boat passed by with its hooter blowing. He also said that Fête had been inspired by a recollection of old-time merrymaking in the Bois de Boulogne, attended by happy, thronging crowds. And yet, when Debussy came to draw up a program for the work, he turned to more mysteriously evocative images. Nuage, he said, renders the immutable aspect of the sky and the slow, solemn motion of the clouds fading away in grey tones, lightly tinged with white. Fête gives us a vibrating atmosphere with sudden flashes of light. There's also the episode of a procession, a dazzling, fantastic vision which passes through the festive scene and becomes merged in it. But the background remains persistently the same. The festival with its blending of music and luminous dust, participating in the cosmic rhythm. Sirène depicts the sea and its countless rhythms, and presently among the waves, silvered by the moonlight, is heard the mysterious song of the sirens as they laugh and pass on. In Debussy's score, the voices are used as another orchestral section, and so the ladies of the London Symphony Chorus are seated among the orchestra rather than in the usual chorus position.
Well, we're nearly prepared for the Debussy, and I noticed reading up in a book by Martin Cooper that Debussy actually wrote to the violinist Isaïe that he was writing a work for violin and orchestra when he started Nocturnes. And here is a violinist, Michael Davis, the leader of the London Symphony Orchestra. However, he obviously changed his mind. But I couldn't help thinking at the time that had there been a violin, he might have omitted the ladies' chorus. An aspect of the music that I've always had slightly strange feelings about, but I'll leave that up to you to decide for yourself. Now here's Claudio Abbado to conduct Debussy's Nocturnes. The evocative Debussy Nocturnes, played by the London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Claudio Abbado, who's coming onto the platform and raising the orchestra to their seats. And I think he's particularly thanking the ladies of the London Symphony Chorus, whose chorus master is Simon Jolly. Maurice Murphy, the trumpeter, who had two solos at the end, one muted and one not muted. I'm sure he also had an accolade for Christine Pendrell, who played the important Cor Anglais solo at the beginning.
The final work in tonight's prom is the suite from the last of Bartók's three works for the stage, The Miraculous Mandarin. He composed it in 1918 and 19, and the orchestration was finished some 4 years later. The scenario of the ballet was based on a play by Bartók's contemporary and fellow Hungarian Menyhert Lengyel. And because it's so shocking, or certainly too shocking for the stage at the time, Bartók made a suite for concert performance. Now this leaves out the mandarin's death at the end of the ballet. But otherwise, the music corresponds to every development in the plot. The scene is set in a shabby room in the slums, where a girl is forced by three thugs to lure men from the street below. Her first client is quickly ejected when it appears that he has no money. The next is a shy youth. He's encouraged by the girl into a dance of mounting fury. But since he has no money either, he too is thrown out. The third to enter is a mandarin, who is at first impassive. The girl hesitates and then begins to dance. At the end of this, the mandarin at last begins to respond, but the girl escapes his embrace. He chases her